And now to talk about the various ways that we capture all of the data that we can use to make decisions about our supply chain. So, how do we get our information? Do we do it manually or through an automated process through the use of software or technology? Okay? Obviously, automation is quick, it's fast, it gives us information instantaneously, and it doesn't require a lot of human resource interaction like manual data collection does. Most companies are using some kind of automated processes. Two ways that we can collect data through an automated process are through barcodes and radio frequency identification or RFID tags. Okay? So barcodes are just a machine readable code. We see these on the back of products on a daily basis when we go into stores and locations. So in the Universal Product Code or UPC, this is used to identify products. There are multiple ways that we track products using barcodes. So when those products come into our business, we scan the barcode and log them into our inventory. So we know that we have those in our location somewhere available for customers. The information that the computer might store could be exactly how many we have, exactly where they're stored, and then when a customer comes, picks an item off a shelf and takes it to the cash register, they scan the barcode. And that one tracks the sale. So we keep information about what products and services we're selling, the quantity of products and services that we're selling, and how much money we make from them. The other thing that it does is automatically updates our inventory. So if we had 5 products before that customer came through, now we have 4 of them. This also helps to keep track and notify our suppliers when we need more. And we'll talk about how a company decides when they need to place the next order in a different chapter. So the benefits of barcodes are that it's labor-saving technology. Before, everything had to be done by hand. So before we had barcodes and computer systems, we had to do everything manually. So we had a paper record that we kept our inventory in, and we would have to physically count how many, lots of paper, lots of human resource labor. Okay? They allow us to track information. We can track that information in multiple ways. We can also use it for package tracking. So the post office, FedEx, UPS, they all use codes to track their packages to tell you where they are. So customers can look and see how long it's taking for a package to get to them, if they should expect that package today or in a couple more days, but to know where it is. So then RFID codes. So RFID codes are radio frequency identification technology. This is where the data is stored in a chip. They're very similar to barcodes. However, because of the computer chip technology, they can transmit the data via a radio frequency. They don't require line of sight like a barcode does. So when you're reading a barcode, you have to be able to see it in order to scan it. Where RFID chips, you just need to be in the location where there are. There are 2 different kinds of RFID chips we're going to talk about next. So there are active and passive. So active chips are more expensive, but because they have an antenna and a battery built into their chip, they can be read from a longer distance. So there's a larger geographic region where you could pick up that code. Most of them are passive. So this allows us to keep track of products and services. Another advantage of RFID codes is that they are able to track specific items. So, for example, a UPC code. So, if we go into a grocery store and we pick up a box of cereal, so let's say Cinnamon Toast Crunch, for example. So, we go in and pick up a box of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Every single box of Cinnamon Toast Crunch has the same exact UPC code. So, we know that you bought a box of Cinnamon Toast Crunch, but we don't know which specific box. With an RFID chip, they can keep track of the very specific product. So each specific individual box gets a unique identifier. Obviously, there are benefits that we can track specific and individual merchandise. However, some of the concerns with that are privacy concerns. How much information can you scan and when? Are we tracking the shopping habits of consumers? And so those are some of the concerns. Other concerns are it's expensive. We have to support the readers. We have to put in new IT infrastructure, especially if we've been using UPC codes and that's what our infrastructure is, then we would have to replace all of that or have separate infrastructure that also does the RFID tags in addition to the UPC tags. Okay. Then once we capture the data, we have to share it. So how do we transmit it to other people? So there's multiple different ways to do this, and we're really just talking like vocabulary about this, that there are multiple different ways to do this. So first is an EDI, and second is XML language. And then also there's an intermediated approach to data transmission called the value added network. So first we're going to talk about EDI. So this electronic data interchange created in 1948. So this is a one-way communication that we computer to computer messages. So how usually transaction related documents. So when an order goes through, you go online, you put in an order, that order then goes somewhere electronically and you receive an electronic invoice. Then you receive electronic shipment information. And so this serves versus a paper equivalent of where I write down a purchase order, I mail it to the company or hand it to the person, they walk into the warehouse, they collect it, they handwrite me an invoice. This was a computerized way of taking care of transactions. Okay, so this is just an example of the EDI document list and the kinds of documents that can be created through this transaction service. Okay, so how EDI works? So we send a purchase order to a seller and receive back an acknowledgement. When the order is ready to ship, we get information about that. When the order is picked up, then they get notified that we've picked up the item and their part of the service delivery has been fulfilled. Okay? And then we pay for those invoices. Benefits of EDI. It's cheaper. It's always cheaper than human interaction. Okay? So less human errors. So when we're writing things down, if we have to read handwriting, there's possibility for human errors. Is that a 1 or a 7? Those kinds of things. Speeds up supply chain processes. Okay? But as with any software system, implementation can be a challenge. We have to have the right software in order to utilize these items. People have to be able to use that software and have to be trained, and we may have to change the way we currently do businesses, so change our business processes in order to facilitate the use of software for data transmission. And then XML, Extensible Markup Language. So XML is similar to EDI, but it also contains tags. located before and after the information. So the role of these tags is to label the data points in the message. So for example, part of an XML message in a purchase order might read quantity 53 quantity. So the data point is 53. That's the quantity ordered. And the tags indicate that it's the quantity. The differences between this and an EDI message is the EDI message doesn't have those coded tags. Okay, benefits. XML is more flexible and it's cheaper than EDI. It doesn't have the same standards that EDI has. It's less costly to implement and it's human readable, which means that anybody can look at it without using specific software. To use EDI, you have to have the software that reads EDI files. One of the downfalls is that XML files are larger and so you have to have the computer power to handle larger files and that there's no standardization. So that's actually both a advantage and a disadvantage of EDI is one, their standards are rigid, so it doesn't give you flexibility, but at the same time, having rigid standards allows for everybody to know exactly what a specific code means. So what is the need for data transmission? So we can transmit either EDI or XML files. We benefit by exchanging messages with multiple partners. And as the number of partners grows, of course, complexity grows. So how many suppliers are in our supply chain? So if you think about like going into a Target or Walmart, how many suppliers are part of their supply chain? How many different companies are they ordering products from? And then how many different customers are they serving? So Walmart and Target supply chain is more difficult than somebody who's only selling one type of product or a very specific product market and only has people coming in for that market. And they might only have one or two suppliers versus hundreds of suppliers. Okay? Then we also add the complexity of global industry. So US standards, so this ANSI code, which is the standard for EDI exchanges, isn't used in Europe. It's a US exchange system. So then we have to have this way for it to translate when we're talking with global partners. So we'll continue this in a third video.